Carrie Ann Stout, founder and CEO of Vinco Bar Exam Coaching. And welcome back to another interview with one of our amazing alum. Today we have Danney joining us. Welcome, Danney. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Carrie Ann.
Cannot wait to chat with you. And Danney is going to be sharing about her bar exam experience and working with Vinco and all of that amazing stuff. So let's just jump right in. And I feel like with you, it's probably best if you want to just start a little bit with like what your bar prep journey looked like from beginning to end, and then we can kind of get more specific.
Sure. Wow, that's a lot. So let's go back to July 2019. I signed up for a commercial bar prep course, and I followed pretty much everything that they told me to do, except some of the practice questions I kind of left on the side because I was focusing more on adaptive bar. Um, and so I was just, when I started this journey, I was basically following the crowd. I was just doing what everybody else was doing. So people were talking about a certain bar company, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the same one. I'm going to do the same thing. And then I quickly realized that instead of doing what worked for me, I was doing what worked for everybody else. Not only that, but I also felt this is very specific to me. I was very burnt out from my last semester in law school. I was involved in anything and everything. I was president of a bunch of organizations. I was doing a bunch of, community outreach. I was just doing so much. It was just too much for me. And I know a lot of my friends, they took it easy their last 3 year semester because they wanted to save their energy for the bar. I didn't do that. By the time I had to study for the bar, I was so tired. And so I was just kind of, when I look back and I remember that time, I was just not in the right place mentally and physically. I was just doing whatever people were doing and just kind of going through the waves and not really saying anything for myself. It was the weirdest time. It was really strange. I was not really connected to, myself and what I needed to do for myself. And so that was the first time. So obviously it didn't go really well because again, I didn't know what I was doing. I was pretty lost most of the time. The entire exam was a nightmare. I think I ran out of time and I had like 20 questions left, 20 questions left that I had to guess on, which I remember I almost started crying and I knew that I hadn't passed. So that was my first time. When the results came in, I just remember thinking maybe there's a miracle, maybe a miracle happened, maybe I actually passed. You never know, because people tell you, it's things happen and you still pass.
There's always a hope. I mean, right? Like unless you don't show up or like do absolutely nothing, there's always a chance that there was enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Or maybe like I made up on other areas of the exam. And so when
It's
I got
also almost never as bad as somebody thinks it is, right? Like, so your impression on test day is going to be way harsher than what happens. But there's also something to knowing yourself and knowing when it was your best work and your best day.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's a different feeling. I'm about to get a little more detailed on that too, because I felt different things each time I took the bar.
Yeah.
The second time, so when I got the results, I found out I didn't pass, and it became real for me. And I just remember I went into this, like, I don't know if I should say depression, but I was really in a really bad place mentally. I was really sad. My confidence levels were down. I didn't believe in myself. I genuinely thought, oh my God, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to pass. And then a friend of mine recommended Vinco, and I was able to speak to one of the coaches. And I really liked what I loved about Vinco and what attracted me to getting, signed up was the fact that you guys work not only on the studying part, but also on the mindset aspect of it, which is what I needed at the time. I needed someone to basically pick me back up and be like, you got this, you're smart, you can do this. And all of you did. However, people can tell you many things, but if you don't help yourself, if you don't pick yourself back up, you're not going to be able to do it, right? People can help you as much as they can, but at the end of the day, it's all on you. And the second time, even though I had you guys all as cheerleaders and basically just pushing me so much and really wanting me to succeed, I still didn't believe in myself. And I felt like I was trying and I worked really hard, but I was still not quite there in terms of my mindset. And so I remember I got really sick a few days before the bar. I was doing things that my coach was telling me not to do.
Oh,
You
I
know,
remember that part. I remember that. I
yeah,
remember the messages.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure you remember because he probably complained about me to you 120 times besides just
There's complaining, and then there's help me help
you're right.
her.
You're right. Yeah, I understand. And I felt so bad because, I think I made his life so, so difficult. And I feel so terrible about it. But he would tell me, don't work out, don't do this because you're gonna get sick. You haven't been feeling well. But I still went to a boxing class. I just treated my body so, so badly. And I think a part of the reason why was because I was kind of self-sabotaging myself. Like I was kind of still not thinking I could do it. I was kind of like, why am I even trying? Like I would have these thoughts, really, really bad, horrible, negative thoughts. And I would be like, why am I even doing this? Why do I have to believe this person who tells me that I can do it? I know I can't. And it was really, really bad. Anyway, so when I finally took the bar, um, I felt something kind of clicked though, because I'm about to say why. Because Vinco obviously gave me really incredible tools and tips and a framework for success that it did, I did learn a lot, and it
For
stayed
sure.
with me, right? So when I was taking the exam as as not confident because I wasn't feeling confident as I felt, I was still sitting there. And I just remember I would automatically think to myself, well, I need to do this. Bingo told me to do this, so I'm just going to do this. Bingo told me to do that, so I'm going to do that. So I did everything, right, that I learned from you guys, minus the mindset part, right? Because I was still feeling very low and not very confident. But when I got my results, I I didn't pass, but I was so shocked because I had gone like 20 points up. And I remember I would be happy if I just go up a few points, but that was a huge leap and a huge improvement that I just remember, the first time I found out I didn't pass the bar, I was a crying mess. I was crying. It was really bad. This time around, I did not cry at all. I don't know what happened to me that I finally got it. And I was like, not only did it work, what Vinco taught me, because it obviously worked, but also if I had been a little more confident, if I had actually put in the work that my coach was telling me to do, if I had actually reviewed those questions like my coach was telling me to review, if I had listened to him, if I had done this A, B, and C, I would have probably gone up a lot more points and I would be in a different situation. And I was like, I can do this. I can finally actually say that I can do this.
This is exactly why I wanted you to tell your story, because like this is a case study in when I try to tell people, we try to tell people about mindset, and we try to tell them like that we see people who are prepared to take the bar exam, like you were prepared to take the bar exam, right? Not pass because of that confidence. And it was like on test day, that second time, it was like you gained the confidence in it all kind of clicked. It was like you thought nothing was working. You thought you weren't retaining anything, but then it was there. It showed up on test day with you. And like, I think like honestly, in a weird way, taking the bar exam is when your confidence, like that day is when like the switch flipped. And then because I remember talking to you after you got the results the second time and you were like, oh, a totally different person. And you were just like, all right, like, let's do this. Like, what's the plan? What am I doing? How am I doing this? And like, this is why it's like, sometimes I get criticized. It's like, oh, why would you want to like tell people that somebody worked with you and didn't pass? Like, A, that's real. Like, not 100% of our students pass. Nobody has 100% pass rate. And B, because like this is the perfect example of like what happens when you stick with the community, when you stick with the systems, when like I'm, and we're just 150% as proud of you as we are of a student who works with us and passes that time. So I just like, you're such an important story for people to hear. And this right here, what you just hit on is one of the big reasons why, in my opinion.
Of course. And I want to say, that I would not have taken Vinco again if I didn't know that what you guys taught me and what you guys did for me actually worked.
That's a very
I
important point.
was ready to jump in. I was ready to jump in. You can ask my coach. We were on the phone when I didn't pass the second time. And he asked me, he was like, are you gonna take it again? And I was like, of course I'm gonna take it again. Like that was like my first reaction. I was like, I'm gonna take it again and I'm gonna do Vinco. Like, and the reason why was because everything, the reason why I didn't pass the second time had nothing to do with you guys. Again, and I say this, and I don't say this as like a, as a way of like advertising. No, no, no. That's not.
We
This
don't
is
really do that here. We
yeah,
just
no.
share what our
Yeah, this is
experiences
me.
are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm speaking from my heart. This is me 120% because I don't play with my money and I spend my money on you for a reason. And I'm going to tell you that I genuinely like believe that I did not pass the second time. It was all because of me. I feel like I was going from the very beginning, July 2019 till now. I was just going through like very strange, just different, how do I say this, like my mindset, my mental space was just going like up and down. And finally it reached a point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you have control over your life and you need to take care of it and you need to do this. And the moment that that happened, not only what you guys did for me helped, but also I was finally helping myself. I was
Yeah.
finally doing something for myself. And I mean, and I'm sure you were confused too. I feel like people from Vinco were probably like, who is this person? Because this person wasn't the person that we met the first time that she took Vinco. Because I was
Yeah.
not that involved. I would not participate unless my coach made me. I was just not in it. I was not in it. But the second time I was with you guys, I was like, I wanted to participate. I wanted to be involved, and I wanted to really, really get everything that I could possibly get from Vinco. And I actually did the work. I actually sat down and I did whatever my coach told me to do from A to Z. And I am just so happy and proud of myself. And I think that the main thing to take away from this is that at the end of the day, yeah, people are gonna help you, but again, you are the only one who can do the work for yourself. That's
Solid advice, right? Like it's all a matter of like what can you internalize, like, and when it comes to the mindset piece, which is why I think this is so important to share, that is the when we say something like, okay, element because fact enough times, you, even if you don't fully understand it, you're going to absorb that eventually. So we say those things over and over and over again. Like mindset doesn't always work like that. That like, your coach could say, and I'm sure you picked up, both of your coaches like to have a lot of the sayings they repeat over and over again, right? I'm sure you could repeat them, but until you absorb them as like your own and believe them for yourself, like that's something no one can do for you
I agree.
except yourself. And like it, people don't believe that they don't believe that this is a real obstacle to passing the bar exam, and then they don't necessarily believe that it can't be taught, and it really, it can be modeled, it can be explained, it can be supported, but
Yeah.
you have to, that's somewhere you have to show up. So I just think, like, in general, even if we just stopped after your story, that would be so valuable for people. But I do have some questions.
Yeah,
For you.
sure. Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like I've just been talking so much.
No, I wanted you. And I honestly don't usually start with that question, but I just think like there were some really important messages that made the most sense to come out in that format. So I know that you were, as many of our students were, referred by one of our former students. But so my question to you is, and I actually don't know the answer, were you thinking of hiring someone or, a company or something? And like, were you looking into different things at that time? Or were you just like, I got this referral, I'm going to meet with them, and if I like them, I'm going to go with them?
I was looking at other things. I was looking into a tutor that a friend of mine had in the past, and she was successful. I was looking at another coaching company, but again, what attracted me to Vinco was because my friend really, we met up in person, and he really explained to me every single thing that you guys
He's
did.
a pretty good advocate on
Yeah,
our, yeah.
he really is, definitely. And he, when he explained to me everything, right, the track sheet and the bar, excuse me, the pass sheet, all these different things that you guys utilize, and the coaching, and the relationship that the coach built with their students and what they do for them. I was like, wow, this is exactly what I need. A tutor is not going to give me that support, and this other coaching company, it was not as personal, like personalized to you, right? Like that's another thing I liked about Vinco, because Vinco is not just like one model fits all. It's, every single student is an individual, and whatever works for one student might not work for the other one, and that's why the coaches are chosen in a certain way for each student. And
Well, and I think you kind of had the unique experience because we do every so often have students who will work with us for two administrations, but like you even saw that your plan was customized for you each time. Like I'm sure you weren't doing exactly the same things, with Leslie that you were doing with David, and that doesn't mean that there was something wrong with either one of those, but you had changed as a test taker. Like your needs from the second time to the third time were completely different.
exactly. And the second time I believed, because I loved having David the first time because he's such a like drill surgeon, and like I needed somebody to pick me back up from like the terrible, like low confidence like mindset that I had, and he was really good at that. He was amazing at picking me back up. But then when I was already up there and I already had the confidence, I didn't need that anymore. I needed somebody to be a little more of like a mom, like a
I
like
mean,
a
she's a drill sergeant too,
yeah.
just in a different personality.
Yeah, but what's funny though, that she actually took a different approach with me. She was more of a more of a mom. Like I don't know how to explain it. She was that person that I would just go to for just for reassurance. Just for her to tell me it's okay, you can do this, and she just kind of let me be because I think she could see that I didn't need anybody just like pushing me a lot. And at the time I didn't understand. I remember I even went to you and I was like, I want Leslie to be more like pushy and stuff. And then I realized we had a conversation about this, me and Leslie was like, you don't need that anymore. You got this. Like you're doing the work and it's showing. The results
Yeah.
showing.
Which,
And
like, also let the record reflect, nobody has ever come to me ever and said they need Leslie to be more pushy than it is. I feel like she'll be very happy that this exists on the internet, that somebody has said that about her.
exactly. And honestly, like, but the thing is, like, Leslie knew from the get-go, and this is something that I didn't. It's funny because your mind can play tricks on you, especially when you're dealing with confidence issues. And I remember I even told my friends, my loved ones, I honestly don't think. I mean, I had my moments where I think I can definitely do this, but there are other moments that I'm like, if I don't have that like hand holding feeling, like I always feel like I'm not gonna do well. And that's another lesson I learned, right? So like a person is not going to be holding your hand the entire time. You're an adult, right? You have to take responsibility. And so Leslie knew from the get-go she didn't want me to just depend on her fully for me to feel confident.
She wasn't going to be sitting there on test day, right? Like
Exactly,
that's a thing.
exactly.
It's like I kind of like, I don't know how familiar you are with like our website, but it's like we always say like tough like a mom, cool like a friend.
Yes,
And it's
yes, yes,
like
yes. I remember seeing
part of like the mom part of it though is like teaching the tools for you to be able to do it on your own. Like we're not helicopter parents,
exactly.
we can't take the test with you. And so helping you, I would think that part of Leslie's approach there would be like helping you not need her for the confidence. Like she's a
Exactly.
safety net, and like on those days I'm sure she provided you the uplifting that you needed, but then hopefully the goal is that you start to be able to provide that more for yourself
Exactly,
through
exactly. And
through
that
it.
was an
Yeah.
amazing combination, to have them both. They both provided things that were very different but very helpful. And I truly believe that I wouldn't have been able to do this without them both, because I really did learn so much.
And that's like something I want to point out for just people who might not know how our system works is like sometimes the students come back, they do work with the same coach again. And like really that's a conversation that I have with the coach and I have with the student. And there might be really compelling reasons to stay and there might be good reasons to switch it up. And switching it up almost never has anything to do with the first coach doing something wrong. It's just as we've been talking about, like the need has maybe changed and now maybe there's someone in a better whose skill set is better suited for those needs. So just a little insight there. Like, I don't want people to think
Yeah,
like, oh no,
definitely,
like I
definitely.
liked my coach. I would want
Oh,
to
no,
like stick with
I,
them. Like that's an option.
yes, no, I want to make it clear. I loved David. I loved everything that he did for me, and I will always be eternally grateful. I just felt like in that moment, my needs were definitely different.
Exactly.
And Leslie provided those things. And I see it as like, like if you want to come up with like a metaphor, like a flower that's kind of blossom, like I
I
feel
love
like I kind of
you're a
blossom.
poet at heart, a
I
flower that's
know.
blossoming.
I am. Oh my God. But it is kind of like I blossomed, and then finally when I finally fully blossomed, I didn't need anybody else. And it was just me, when I sat in
Yeah.
front of the computer, it was me and the exam. And I can tell you, I had a moment that I'm never gonna forget that I was just like staring at the computer waiting for it to start. And I just remember like I told myself, like, you can totally do this, you can pass. And I never ever said that before when I
I
was
love
taking the exam. So that was a very powerful moment for me. And it's going to apply for every other area of my life. This confidence and this experience and lessons learned are really going to make every other area of my life so much better. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
No, and I think that's great, like, message for people to hear. And so now that you've passed the bar,
Yes.
people are gonna, I mean, already you're giving advice and people are asking you for advice, and you're so generous with sharing things and sharing your story. But while we have people here listening, like, what, we already talked a lot to, like, the confidence piece of it, right? So I feel like if I asked you, like, what do you think the biggest difference is, like, you've already kind of said that's what you think it is. So we'll skip that question and go straight to, now you have someone, let's talk directly to repeat takers right now. You have someone who's going in, they're taking the bar, maybe it's their second time, maybe it's their third time, and they want to hear one piece of advice from Danney. What would you tell them?
So I would tell them to take it seriously and do the work. I think that, we are so used to, not, I don't want to say all of us, but, law students, they do have to work really hard. But there's always an aspect of, you can get away with a little bit of procrastination. You can get away with a little bit of, not doing something when you not doing the, things the way that you're supposed to. And it is school, right? It's not the same for everybody, but for the bar specifically, you have to do the work. You really do. There's no shortcut. And so that's something that I had to learn too, because sometimes for certain exams, depending on the course, like con law, I'm really good at con law. I love con law, and but I don't like property, so I had to work really hard for property and not work that hard for con law in law school. But for the bar exam, you have to work really hard for the entire thing. Yeah, maybe some courses are going to be easier than others, but the reality is that you have to have a schedule. You have to wake up in the morning and do your work. You have to, you really have to review these questions, not simply skip them or say, oh yeah, this is, I'm never going to get this again, this wrong again, and I'm just going to skip it and never think about it again. Like, you really have to engage with the information and sit down and do it. And that's something that I think the first and the second time I didn't really understand either. So definitely take it seriously, guys, and you got this. I know how it feels to be a repeat taker, but again, this goes back to the mindset. Mindset is everything, and hard work is everything. If you combine those two, you can be successful.
I want to highlight, just because I think this is an important connection to make, though, is like, you weren't lazy, like that second time, right? And that's never a conversation that David and I had about you. It was like, oh, that Danae's not, doing the work. But that mindset, just to highlight and make the connection of the mindset piece, is like, that is very likely what causes the procrastination,
Yes,
what stops you from being able to really dive into what you're getting wrong, because what you're getting wrong can mess with your mind. I have to forget that I curse a lot. And I was like, don't say it, mess with your mind. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time. And then so once that happens, you're like, well, I don't want to look at that thing that I got wrong again, because it's gonna knock my confidence. But once you build a little bit of confidence, you're like, all right, I got that wrong. Why did I get that wrong? How can I get it right in the future? How can I learn from this? It totally impacts how you're memorizing, how you're learning, how you're reviewing. So that connection there is not, I wouldn't want people to hear you saying, don't be lazy, because that's true. Sometimes people are lazy.
exactly. Yeah.
Don't be lazy. That's good advice. But I think what you're really saying is, make sure that your mindset isn't preventing you from actually getting the work
Exactly.
done.
Yeah, I'm so excited and happy that you said this, because I've been thinking a lot about, what I wanted to say today, because I think it's very important to me, because this experience really impacted my life, and I want to make sure that I say the right things for the people who are taking the bar. I want to help out. And one of the things that I kept thinking about was, what kept me from doing the work. And I always say, right, my mindset. But what does that really mean? And you just, like, you explained it beautifully, right? It's not about being lazy. It's because you are so afraid of failing. You're so afraid of doing things wrong, that when you do them wrong, it's kind of like a confirmation that you're not good enough.
Right.
That you
It reaffirms that mindset. It's like, oh yeah,
exactly.
I can't do this. And here's the 37
And
on my
here's the
percent on my
result.
MBE to prove that, And then,
Exactly.
so you're like, I'm
And
not going to do that again. Right. I'm not going to do that again. But instead, and I think this is the mindset you went in with on the time you passed, it was like, okay, I got a 37 on that set of MBE questions. That is one set of MBE questions. What can I learn from them? How can I process it?
you
And
move
like,
on. You
makes
move
a
on.
huge difference. Huge difference. So I love that was such an important part of this conversation. Okay, so this is a totally self-serving question, but the reason that I ask it is because part of the goal of these calls is to just share stories, be inspiring, give advice, but also people are like, do I want to work with Vinco? What, like, is it, so my question for you is like, what was your favorite part about the experience? Could be with your coach or the greater Vinco community, whatever it is. What was your favorite part?
Well, I loved meeting on Saturdays. I love meeting because, it's very lonely when you're taking the bar, especially if you're taking it again, if you're a repeat taker. A lot of your friends already, probably passed, and some of them are already getting sworn in, and you're kind of in this little bubble yourself, and you're like, will I ever get there? And you feel very alone. But then when you join a community like Vinco and you see people around you who are cheering you on, and actually, they genuinely want you to succeed, and it's nice. It's just nice to have that community. It's like going to class again. So I love that, and I love the fact that you encourage students to participate. Obviously, you're not forcing anybody to participate. I want to say
sometimes your coach will. I don't.
Yeah, the coaches sometimes, I guess, but I love that. I love that community feel, the community sense of Vinco. Definitely, I love. I mean, I want to say I love everything about Vinco, but especially the community part of it is what really, got me, kept me going, because I was looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturdays. I was looking forward to learning more from you every Saturday, and then I would apply whichever skills I learned that day to the following week, the week ahead, and that was always something that kept me on track. So
I think, and like every like group call has its own vibe, and like your group, because obviously you guys were studying during the pandemic and bar exams were being canceled and this and that and all that, but like you guys would actually like cheer each other on. I mean, we like metaphorically cheer each other on, but like you guys would be like clapping and saying like yeah in the comments, and it was awesome. Like you guys were such a you had a lot more time to spend together because of the bar exam being delayed. But I love that. And I think like when people ask me like what makes Vinco different, like community is probably my number one answer to that. And it's just like it's not something that you see in the tutoring or coaching world, because that's a very one-on-one thing. So I think that's what's like very unique here is like, yeah, you have your coach, you have your relationship with your coach, you get that custom advice, but also you're plugged into a bunch of other people having a similar experience. And so it's like a quality group of people. It's not just like random people who are going to be comparing with you and giving you random advice. Like it's sort of like a selective group of people who aren't going to be very negative and aren't going to be competitive and make you feel bad about what you're doing or not doing. Like we really try to lift each other up. So I love that answer when people say that, because I think that's what makes Vinco special too. I want to thank you so much for taking, I know you're very busy now, Miss Lawyer, and admitted everything. We're so excited for you. So thank you. And just really for the way you're sharing your story, not just with us today, but in general. Like, I don't know if you yet appreciate the impact that you were having on other people. And from doing this for as long as I have, like I can tell you for sure, sharing your story and talking about it the way you are is making a huge difference for people. So thank you so much for that. We look forward to seeing what you do in the future. And for everyone watching, make sure that you check back soon for another one of these interviews. Maybe next week, maybe a week after that. We'll see, but we'll be back. Have a good one.
Bye.